The hijack window part 1. The freight depot glowed under banks of mercury vapor lights, a concrete island in the pre-dawn dark. Marcus Reed parked his sedan in the auditor slot and stepped into the chill air. The smell was diesel and cold metal. The dispatch office was a glass box of warmth and fluorescent glare. The supervisor, a man with tired eyes named Peters, looked at Marcus's credentials, then at a clipboard, not a screen. "Reed, right? We'll log you manually." "System's lagging this morning," Peters said, scribbling on a paper form. For a bonded pharmaceutical carrier with real-time digital tracking, a manual log was a protocol failure. "I'm riding with the primary?" Marcus asked, his voice neutral. "Yeah. Truck 114. Convoy of 2. High-value temp control. 2 drivers rotating. You know the drill." Peters handed him a laminated ride-along pass. "Manifests on your tablet. Wheels roll in 10. Marcus nodded. The drill was familiar. The anomalies were not. Outside, Truck 114 was a gleaming white freightliner with a refrigerated trailer. The seal on the rear doors was a heavy-duty electronic bolt, its digital display showing a green lock icon and a serial number that matched the manifest. "Standard." Marcus ran his handheld RFID scanner over it. The scanner pinged once for the main seal. Then, a half-second later, pinged again with an identical but fainter signal. A duplicate tag. A ghost in the system. He climbed into the passenger seat of the cab. The lead driver, a man named Kovacs with a shaved head and thick forearms, gave him a tight nod. "Buckle up. Long stretch ahead." The convoy pulled out, Truck 114 in the lead, its twin, Truck 115, 50 yards behind. The dawn light began to bleed gray into the sky. Marcus pulled up the live telemetry on his tablet. The 2 green dots moved smoothly along the interstate. He watched the raw coordinate feed. Every 30 seconds, the dot representing Truck 114 would jump 300 meters west of its actual position, hold for a millisecond, then snap back to the correct location. The system logs showed an automatic drift correction each time, overwriting the raw data. He pulled up the planned route versus the live traffic overlay. The system showed an active D2 alert ahead, flagged as weather avoidance, local flooding. He cross-checked the regional weather feed. Clear skies, no precipitation for 50 miles. Simon's personal phone buzzed. He glanced at it, his jaw tightening. "Gotta take this." He pulled onto the shoulder, put the truck in park, and stepped out into the cold, walking 20 feet away. Marcus watched in the side mirror. Simon's body language was stiff, his free hand gesturing sharply. He returned 2 minutes later, face pale. "Dispatch," Simon muttered, not meeting Marcus's eyes. "Confirming the next fuel stop." Marcus didn't reply. They had passed the scheduled fuel stop 12 minutes ago. His fingers flew across the tablet, digging into the system's diagnostic logs, bypassing the user interface. He found it buried in a sub-menu for scheduled system maintenance, a pre-programmed telemetry blackout. Event, maintenance handshake scheduled, T00 to 26 to 15 duration, 6 minutes affected, Truck 114 GPS, temp logs, door seal status. A 6-minute window of digital invisibility. The hijack window. He dove deeper, into the dashcam archives. Last Thursday's convoy run, same route. He found a 5-minute gap in the continuous footage. The file wasn't missing, it was flagged as corrupted, auto-delete pending. He ran an audio recovery scan on the segments before and after the gap. A single, clear audio spike was isolated and logged, frequency and decay pattern consistent with a small caliber gunshot. He had the countdown, hijack window, T25:50. The play was clear. Once the blackout triggered, the convoy would be forced to stop, a staged breakdown, a fake accident. In that 6-minute silence, the cargo would be transferred. The system logs would be falsified to show a mechanical delay, the seal would be replaced with a pre-staged duplicate, and the truck would continue, none the wiser until the depot inventory failed hours later. He couldn't radio for help. Any external signal could alert the shadowing crew and trigger an abort, a reschedule. He couldn't order Simon to deviate. The driver was compromised. He pulled up the cargo manifest details. The pallets were targeted immunotherapy drugs, batch-specific, destined for the oncology wards of 3 major hospitals. The shipment notes read, "Critical timeline, no replacement stock within 24 hours." Theft in this instance meant loss of lives. Procedural ethics locked into place, cold and absolute. He moved quietly. He reached behind his seat, removed the roadside emergency kit. He took out 3 highway flares and 2 reflective warning triangles, placing them within easy reach near his door. He checked the fire extinguisher mounted by his knee, ensured its pin was secure. He felt under his seat, found the vehicle's toolkit, a heavy wrench and a tire iron. In the side mirror, he saw it again, a dark blue sedan, 4 cars back in the right lane. It had maintained that exact distance through 2 lane changes. The passenger wore a dark baseball cap pulled low. Shadowing. Confirmation. He looked at Simon. "If we have to stop unexpectedly in the next half hour," Marcus said, his voice low and even, "do not get out of this cab." Simon's knuckles whitened on the wheel. He stared straight ahead. "Not my call," he mumbled. Inside, cooperation confirmed. On Marcus's tablet, the telemetry clock flickered. The countdown jumped. T24:20. The system had just stolen 90 seconds. The crew was adjusting the window in real time, tightening the noose. Marcus leaned back in his seat. He tightened his seatbelt with a solid click. He placed a hand on the cold metal of the fire extinguisher. He took a slow, deliberate breath, his eyes scanning the highway ahead, the overpasses, the wide gravel shoulders, the forested merges. He said nothing. He was no longer an auditor on a ride-along. He was a countermeasure inside a moving trap, with 24 minutes until the window opened. The countdown hit 0. On Marcus's tablet, the live telemetry feed didn't just freeze, it vanished. The GPS icon grayed out. A system notification flashed across the truck's dashboard display, "Maintenance handshake active, do not power cycle." Simultaneously, a yellow check engine light illuminated. The Freightliner's power steering stiffened, the wheel fighting Simon's grip. The staged breakdown was a symphony of digital and mechanical sabotage. "Damn it," Simon muttered, not sounding surprised. He flicked the hazards on and guided the lumbering truck onto the wide gravel shoulder near an abandoned industrial exit ramp. No streetlights, no buildings, just scrub pine and cracked asphalt. Truck 115 mirrored the move, pulling up 20 yards behind. In Marcus's side mirror, the blue sedan slowed to a crawl 200 meters back, parking under the shadow of an overpass. The hijack window was open. 6 minutes. Simon unfastened his seatbelt and reached for the door handle. "Stay in the truck," Marcus said, his voice a flat command. Simon yanked his arm free. "Truck's dead. Gotta check the engine." He shoved the door open and jumped down, his boots crunching on gravel. He didn't look at the engine. He took 3 quick steps toward the road and waved an arm toward the overpass. Betrayal confirmed. From the industrial ramp, a white panel van appeared, rolling silently with its lights off. It swung onto the shoulder and stopped nose to nose with truck 114, blocking any forward escape. The side doors slid open. 2 men stepped out. The first, bulky in a hoodie, held a crowbar. The second, lean and calm, held a semi-automatic pistol low against his thigh. No masks, no shouting. Professional, quiet execution. Marcus didn't wait for them to reach the cab. He grabbed the fire extinguisher, pulled the pin, and pushed his door open. The crowbar man was halfway to the cab. Marcus stepped down and swung the heavy red canister in a short, brutal arc it connected with the man's sternum. The air left his lungs in a pained "uff." Marcus drove forward, using his weight to slam the man back into the gravel. The crowbar clattered away. The man lay on his back, gasping like a fish. A gunshot. Not aimed at him. The pistol man had fired into the gravel at Marcus's feet. A warning. A fragment of bullet or stone sliced across Marcus's left calf. A line of fire seared up his leg. He stumbled, feeling the warm, instant soak of blood inside his trousers. Mobility compromised. He retreated, hauling himself back into the cab. He slammed the door and engaged the manual deadbolt just as the crowbar man, wheezing but furious, began smashing the side mirror with his fist. Outside, the pistol man ignored the cab. He walked calmly toward the rear of the trailer and the sealed cargo doors. Marcus ignored the pain in his leg. He yanked the diagnostic cable from his tablet and plugged it into the truck's OBDII port under the dash. He navigated past the locked user interface, accessing the engine control unit's raw command line. He overrode the fault protocol causing the power loss and initiated a forced reboot. The dashboard lights died, then flickered back to life. The check engine light went out. Somewhere in the truck systems, a desperate GPS uplink request was sent, conflicting with the blackout command. On his tablet, the grayed out icon flickered, a digital stutter. The 6-minute window destabilized. Crash. The passenger window shattered. The crowbar man, his face a mask of rage, reached through the broken glass, grabbing for Marcus. Marcus didn't flinch. He aimed the fire extinguisher's nozzle through the broken window and discharged it full into the man's face. The white chemical powder blinded him. The man screamed, clawing at his eyes. Marcus kicked the cab door open, catching the man in the chest. As he stumbled back, Marcus drove his boot heel down onto the side of the man's knee. A wet, popping crunch. The man shrieked and collapsed. Marcus's own leg buckled under the weight of the kick. He caught himself on the doorframe, the pain in his calf a bright, screaming star. He breathed through it. He looked back. The pistol man had a pair of bolt cutters and was working on the cargo door seal. The driver of Truck 115, a man Marcus hadn't seen until now, jumped down from his cab and ran to help, pulling a crowbar from his own truck. The inside betrayal was complete. No more procedural restraint. Gritting his teeth, Marcus hauled himself back into the cab of Truck 114. He shoved the gearshift into drive. The truck, its systems rebooting, responded with a lurch. He didn't aim for the pistol man. He aimed the 40-ton rig at the rear axle of Truck 115. The impact was a deafening roar of tearing metal and shattering glass. Truck 115 fishtailed violently, its trailer swinging sideways across the right lane of the highway, creating a massive, impassable steel wall. The cargo transfer was now physically impossible. The driver of Truck 115, thrown to the ground by the impact, scrambled up, his face contorted with fury. He snatched a tire iron from the gravel and charged Marcus's cab. Marcus met him on the ground. He blocked the wild swing, grabbed the man's wrist, twisted it inward, and used the man's momentum to drive the tire iron up into his own shoulder joint. A sickening crack. The man screamed, his collarbone giving way. He dropped to his knees, then face first into the gravel. The pistol man finally turned from the cargo doors, his work interrupted. He raised his weapon, aiming squarely at Marcus's chest from 15 feet away. "Enough!" he yelled, his calm finally broken. Marcus's hand went to his belt. He pulled a highway flare, struck it alight with a sharp twist, and threw it underhand. It wasn't a weapon, it was a distraction. The burning, sputtering red flame arced through the air and struck the pistol man in the face. He flinched, batting it away, momentarily blinded. Marcus closed the distance in 3 limping strides. He grabbed the pistol wrist, forced it up and back. A dry snap. The man screamed, the pistol falling. Marcus drove him backward, slamming him down so his torso was pinned under the front bumper of Truck 114. He left him there, writhing, his broken wrist trapped. At that moment, the 6-minute blackout timer expired. On Marcus's tablet, the GPS icon glowed green. The telemetry feed refreshed with a burst of data, logging the convoy's exact coordinates. The system, seeing an emergency stop not on the schedule and a complete telemetry blackout, immediately auto-flagged a Priority 1 security breach. Alarms would now be shrieking in the dispatch center. The hijack window was shattered. The operation was burned. In the distance, the first warble of state police sirens cut through the morning air. The panel van's engine roared. It reversed in a cloud of dust, swung around the crashed Truck 115, and fled down the industrial ramp. Simon was already 50 yards away, sprinting into the woods. Marcus limped to the rear of his trailer. The seal was cut but not fully removed. The doors were still locked. He used a spare manual lock from the cab to resecure it. He checked the external temperature monitor. Still within the safe threshold. The cargo was intact. He hobbled to the pistol man, still pinned under the bumper, and took his phone from his jacket pocket. He navigated it quickly. Text threads with route schedules, a file labeled blackout script, encrypted payment confirmations, and an address, a warehouse district near the port. He uploaded it all to a Federal Logistics Crime Task Force portal and set a delayed, public release for 60 minutes. The sirens were close now. Dispatch was calling the truck's cab radio, the voice frantic. The hijack crew was neutralized or in flight. The cargo was preserved. The evidence chain was activated. Marcus Reed stood in the middle of the highway wreckage, blood soaking his left leg, his body a ledger of pain. The interference was complete. Now came the extraction. Part 3. The state police cruisers arrived in a storm of flashing blue and red, blocking the highway with a wall of steel. Officers poured out, weapons drawn, shouting commands into the chaos of the wrecked trucks and groaning men. Marcus Reed didn't move. He raised his hands, empty palms forward, and slowly lowered himself to sit on the gravel shoulder, his injured leg stretched out before him. He made no sudden gestures. He offered no explanations. The first two officers, seeing the carnage and the armed hijacker pinned under the truck bumper, swept the scene. They cuffed Marcus with the same quick, efficient motions they used on the crowbar man and the pistol man. He didn't resist. He didn't say, "I'm with you." He allowed himself to be processed as part of the problem. It kept their attention off his precise role, preserving a window of anonymity. An ambulance arrived, its lights adding white to the strobe of blue and red. EMTs rushed to the wounded hijackers first. A harried-looking man in a suit and tie arrived next, flanked by a state trooper. He carried a digital manifest reader, a hospital network logistics officer. He went straight to the rear of truck 114, scanned the resealed lock, and checked the temperature logs on his device. He let out a visible sigh of relief. As he passed by the police cruiser where Marcus sat cuffed in the back seat, Marcus spoke through the open window, his voice low. "Reseal is temporary. Cargo integrity is intact. You have a 12-minute stability window. Get it rolling." The logistics officer met his eyes, gave a sharp nod, and turned to the ranking trooper. "This shipment is time-critical for surgical oncology. I need an immediate police escort to the depot. Now." The trooper barked orders. Within 3 minutes, the undamaged truck 114, its systems rebooted, was rolling again, flanked by 2 cruisers, leaving the wreckage of truck 115 behind. The primary mission objective was complete. As an officer walked by, Marcus said, "The lead driver, Simon. His part of it. Ran into the woods. His phone will have the blackout scripts and payment confirmations. The hijacker's phone is in my left pocket." The officer paused, then called it in. The discovery of the phone, combined with Marcus's calm, specific details, triggered an immediate escalation. An internal affairs unit was notified. The hunt for Simon was upgraded. The hijack cell was now formally implicated, moving the incident from a roadside robbery to a conspiracy. Marcus's own cost came due. The tourniquet he'd fashioned from a strap was inadequate. Blood had filled his boot, a dark, sticky pool. When he tried to stand to be transferred, his leg gave way entirely. An EMT caught him, forced him onto a gurney, and began cutting away his trouser leg. Marcus didn't resist. He allowed himself to be loaded into the ambulance, locking himself into the controlled, bureaucratic pipeline of the medical system. En route, the delayed evidence upload executed. The blackout scripts, crew identities, shell company routing numbers, and Simon's payment records flooded the inboxes of the Federal Transport Fraud Unit, the Medical Supply Chain Task Force, and the State Highway Crime Division. A roadside incident was now a multi-agency federal case. At the county hospital, an intake clerk asked his name as they wheeled him toward a curtained bay. "Marcus Reed." She typed, frowned. "I'm not finding you in the contractor or incident database." He closed his eyes, let his head loll slightly. "Feeling light-headed," he murmured. The clerk, overwhelmed by the influx of police and prisoners, flagged the discrepancy but moved on, calling for a nurse. Bureaucratic confusion bought him time. An hour later, a man in a plain grey suit entered the curtained area. He had the bearing of a federal agent. He held an evidence bag containing the hijacker's phone. The data on this phone matches an upload that triggered 4 agency flags, the agent said, his voice quiet. He looked at the chart, then at Marcus. You're listed as a reporting party, not a suspect. He produced a key and removed the cuff still tethering Marcus's wrist to the bed rail. The agent handed Marcus his personal phone and wallet. He also gave him a temporary hospital release badge on a lanyard. You were never here, the agent said, his tone final. The incident report will list you as a third-party compliance auditor who left the scene prior to formal interview. It wasn't thanks. It was institutional housekeeping. Marcus took the badge. The agent left without another word. Using the badge, Marcus limped out of the treatment bay. He moved through a staff-only corridor, past a break room smelling of burnt coffee, and out a service entrance into a concrete parking garage. The cold air was a shock. No police, no press. Just the hum of ventilation fans. He stopped by a large red biohazard disposal bin. He dropped the hijacker's phone, now wiped, inside. He sent one final, encrypted data packet from his own phone to a cloud dead drop, then erased all local files. Redundancy complete. He sat on a loading dock step, the cement cold through his thin hospital scrubs. He carefully unwrapped the bloody field dressing and applied a fresh, proper bandage from the kit the EMT had left with him. The bleeding had finally slowed to a seep. He drank lukewarm water from a vending machine cup, his breathing slow and controlled against the pain. A shift change klaxon blared within the hospital. Doors swished open. A river of people in scrubs, lab coats, and jackets began flowing out into the garage, talking about long shifts and dinner plans. Marcus stood. He pulled the borrowed hospital jacket tighter, kept his head down, and stepped into the human current. He became another tired figure leaving work, blending seamlessly into the pattern of institutional life. He chose not to get into a car. Instead he walked with the flow toward the bus stop and the employee parking lot beyond, his figure dissolving into the twilight and the crowd. The system had faulted. A theft window had opened. He had broken it. The cargo was delivered. The network was exposed. The cost was a scar on his leg and another file in a federal server. Marcus Reed walked away, absorbed and anonymous, into the indifferent city.